Hey everybody, welcome to the Spotlight. I am here with another one of our wonderful talents and a dear friend, and that is Lois Kinsey. And Lois Kinsey's brand is The Hair Whisperer, and you're going to find out why here shortly. So thank you so much for joining us today. You know, the Beauty Agent Network is your resource for education and educators, and we've got some new faces on this week as well. So I'll share that with you as we kind of progress along. But first, what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to introduce you to my guest today, who is Lois Kinsey, the Hair Whisperer. She's been in the industry for over 40 years, and she's been a consummate learner in this industry. So even though she's a teacher to all things great in the industry, especially her specialty, updos, specialty hair, weddings, and the wedding business, which is what we're going to talk about today, I have, in all the years that I've known Lois, she has absolutely positively always remained the student after 40 plus years in this industry. So welcome, Lois. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Bonnie. I'm so grateful to be here. Happy.
Yeah. Oh, good. I am so glad. So I am going to let you share a little bit of your story and how you got involved in the beauty industry and what was appealing to you. And, you know, I always like to hear what I say is the little Lois story. You know, what was that moment when you were young that you realized, I think I'm going to do this? And in some cases, like for me, it was once I hit, I was in high school before I even thought about this, and it was not by design. But some people knew it from a very early age that they wanted to be in beauty. So tell us your story. And while you're doing that, I'm just going to type into our Facebook Live and add a title to it, okay?
Okay, so thanks, Bonnie. I really always had this really baby fine hair. So everybody would say, ooh, what are we going to do with that? And I was a dancer, had this ponytail that was about as big as like a little kitty tail. So I needed help with my hair and my makeup because I was in the spotlight. So there I go to the local beauty school, and they're going to color my hair because I'm platinum blonde, and I just remained that blonde with no money in my pocket. So they offered to have me model for them, which introduced me to the very best of the school, the best in Long Beach, and the Long Beach show, which I quickly started modeling for. Then my hair looked amazing every day because I had to keep it till the next weekend to, keep it in place. It was the 60s, and so he could copy it. And I started doing shows with him. Well, we won, and I looked great. Then I got married, and I thought, I've got to keep this guy around because I have never looked so good. So that was my first moment where I said, nobody else could do my hair. They embarrassed me because I always felt like I had no hair. And I kind of set out at that point to do some makeup because I couldn't quite go to school. Started doing the makeup, and I'd finish with their looking at them, and they had these big balls of fuzz all over their head or back combed out to the nines, and I could sort of shape it because of the training that he gave me. So that was my beginning.
So it really was about somebody being able to do your hair to inspire you to want to do hair.
And I looked amazing. And I never looked that good, ever.
Because to this day, you have very, very fine hair.
Baby fine. So I also, in the industry, said, if he could do my hair, and then I got introduced to the European hairdressers, they could do that hair. Why is it that everybody else can't do and constantly embarrasses people with baby fine hair or over colors it? So I was the color expert from the beginning. Of course, wigs and hair pieces, thanks to my good friend Dorothy, who opened the salon and started a magazine early on, that we had all this extra hair. So I wore at one time 2 pairs of eyelashes, 2 wiglets, a fall, maybe some bangs thrown in, and everybody thought it was my hair because I could disguise it. That was the beginning of the Hair Whisperer.
Oh, I love that.
Hairs.
Now you've been in salons over time. You even worked for a network for a while. And then
TBS.
you've done a lot of freelance work in regards to weddings and brides, and we're going to get into that shortly. But tell us a little bit more about some of the history over the 40 years that you've been able to do.
Well, I think the very first was actually in Spain, when in Barcelona, the first time I went to Europe with Dorothy to cover the magazine. I got introduced to Alexandre de Paris. I saw him do a bride, and I was in love with him and the way he styled hair. The minute she did a little dip, he was very small, so when she dipped over the bride to put his little finishing touches on, I said, I'm going to do that someday.
Mm-hmm.
And then I walked through the Ritz Hotel in Barcelona, and Salvador Dali was walking through there, and he said, what do you do? And I said, well, I'm a hairdresser, because then I was feeling all proud to be this amazing, I was in Europe, and I didn't feel that good about being a hairdresser until then. And he had us to come to his room to do his hair. So there was my first celebrity. And then coming
Salvador Dali was your first celebrity.
Yeah. So where did it go from there?
That's a pretty big one, Lois.
And nobody in America really, I couldn't talk about it because they didn't believe me. I was a young hairdresser. And they said, what did you do? I sprinkled his hair with rainwater and blew it dry with the first blow dryer.
Wow.
Yeah. So we couldn't really tell anybody about it because it was all sort of private. But I didn't know that story was going to be so amazing for many years. And again, I think I was, kind of shy about talking about myself, which, is still kind of the deal. I'd rather talk about other people.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that we get to talk about you, because you've had an amazing career in beauty. And even to this day, Lois, you are still behind a chair doing hair and doing freelance work after 40 years. And I know that's really tough for a lot of people to be in the industry that long. How have you been able to manage that?
Well, because it's art. I love art. I love art from the beginning, and the conceptual designer that I actually finally got a name when I was at CBS. They said, well, you're a conceptual designer. I thought, well, what does that mean? And that's exactly what I do. I like the concept, and the bride or the person going out for an evening or the guy with the great haircut, he's got a concept in his mind, or she's got a concept. I'm able to be that designer that listens and say, okay, and that drives me. That is my driving force.
Yeah. So I remember when I first met you years ago at the Long Beach show, and you were telling me that you had done, some bridal work, and I think we're all very familiar with one of our favorite Martin Parsons in the industry. But after I had the conversation with you, there was something very fascinating about the type of work that you do. And until I saw a lot of the images that you had shown me in that time, and then watched you live in action doing the work, I was amazed. You have that gift of being able to take hair and find its home, find a place for it, but have it still look very natural and casual, not all fixed. And I appreciate people that can do that freestyle approach and still have beautiful hair in the end. And I think that's kind of where your Hair Whisperer brand started to come about, right?
I absolutely, because people don't live with their hair sprayed down. My lifestyle is at the beach and walking and being casual, dancing, and again, that baby fine hair, I loved it when it was cut correctly, colored correctly. Color is my best friend. My hair would look great dancing or at the beach. So even if it has a couple of pins in it, but I also learned to pin in a much different way that can still show that they can be livable and kind of sexy. I'm a sexy person. I like men to appreciate the hairstyle that I have, or my clients, they always say, I do hair for your husband or for your boyfriend, because they go, wow, did you go see Lois today? So
Oh,
I love that because it's a very, makes the woman feel good. I mean, we're not looking at ourselves all day. We do
no, no, not at
love to
all.
have that feeling. So I don't like a real slick down, stiff version of something and that it's not livable. So
Yeah, yeah.
I've ticked, and again, working with hair pieces that had to add on a little volume, I learned how to make that little volume with your own hair. So there, and it was, I kind of living in Maui really changed a lot of how you could quickly get a technique in hair, even if it was wet, and it would still look like something to go out to dinner.
So tell us a little bit about that stint over in Maui, because that was a big part of you building. I mean, this was like, a wedding capital. You were working for resorts. You then had the opportunity to be able to really get involved in wedding hair, but somehow Hawaii and you resonate really well. So tell us a little bit about your Hawaii experience.
Well, I went to Maui. I never really thought I was going to move from Laguna Beach. I live in a beautiful, beautiful area, and I fell in love with the water. It was just the water, simple, clean, clear. I was at a point in my life I thought if I didn't make a change, I wanted to go globally. I knew that I was kind of stuck in Newport Beach doing hair. Everybody had the same hair as me. I wanted European hair. I wanted Asian hair. I wanted multicultural hair. And I wasn't with a company like Paul Mitchell or one of the companies yet. So, and I wasn't married, and I was free to do something. So I went every year for about 5 years. It wasn't an instant decision. And I was a little bit early for what happened, but I had no idea. I was the wedding girl and the event girl at the salon, but maybe one a month, one every some, but I get there and there's weddings 3 times a day.
Oh, in Hawaii. So that's really
And
that.
I had no idea that the wedding business I was just going to do hair and have a couple of weddings on the side. Oh no. The Grand Wailea and the Four Seasons and the Ritz-Carlton, all of them. And in Oahu, there was like 5 weddings a day because the Japanese were getting married every day. And then we had to do it without learning how to speak Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to have this sparkle in their eye, which is what I still look for in everybody, when you get it right with the makeup, because then I had to go back to do makeup because I had no one to do makeup for me in Maui. So I honed my makeup skills again with no English and no Japanese. So they would smile and I would go, I guess I'm doing good. And then the hair was changed before all the wedding ceremonies. It was amazing. It was amazing experience.
So you had to do it one way, and then you had to transform their hair for a different part of the wedding.
Yes, so that's when you get clear. Don't put too much product because we're going to change it. So again, listening maybe to the concierge or seeing a picture, which really honed me for fashion work later on. So it was a training ground for what was yet to come.
Yeah. Now you do some work with Basque Magazine, and that gives you the opportunity to constantly be in that editorial arena of being able to do hair as art and as fashion connected with some of the work that they do in Basque Magazine, which is a Southern California kind of exclusive magazine for that particular area in Orange County.
And now we have a new one called Jolie, which is
right.
Jolie is just taking off with putting celebrities on covers that are not yet been really found out, but they're TV stars or somebody that you may have seen. So we're trying to do that. So I'm working with, again, the celebrity people, which is they give me a couple of hours, they bring their own designers, so I have to talk with them. And it's a wonderful experience. All this background has kind of honed me, and I'm able to, with all the people that we worked with back in New York at New York Fashion Week and before, things kind of slowed down with that, but I was able to go and speak with French designers that didn't speak English. So
Yeah.
you have to speak the language of art.
You do, yeah.
What's your concept? What do you want to see? And maybe, I remember one time this guy brings out an ice bucket on his head, this French designer. He sees like this. And that was, he wanted like a beehive. Because that's what an ice bucket would look like on your head, right? So,
yeah.
There I go. I said, we got to go buy some hair. So off we went, and all the girls went down with that big twirl beehive on their head.
Oh, that's fascinating. So let's talk about kind of the everyday stylist. You know, like anything, we have a trial and error, and we have to practice to be great at this type of a skill called, you know, specialty hair or wedding hair, whatever you want to call it. But what do you think the big fear is for people in doing this type of hair? Because I talk to hairdressers all the time, and they are like scared to death to do wedding hair or specialty.
Or even a special event. How about just your anniversary?
Mm-hmm.
It's something, just a little departure. I really think that they have had bad experiences with somebody hating their hair, and nobody wants to try it because they say, oh, I hate it. I can't stand it. Somebody starts crying in their chair, and they're going to stick with hair cutting and coloring. They're not going to try that bun again. I guarantee you. So, but I think that now things are changing where the young girls actually are doing their own hair. So we've lost a lot of business that could be actually potential clients, just because they're doing their styling themselves on each other.
Yeah.
So we need to kind of take another look at that, which is where I started just doing the braids, buns, and tails. Because it all starts with that. If you can do a simple ponytail that looks really cute, you'll get some of this beachy hair up a little bit and certainly be more like a J-Lo. As everybody wants to look like celebrities.
Yeah, and well, even the art of a ponytail, it's not just like, putting a rubber band in the head. There's like, creating the direction for the hair in order to have it all kind of, going into one locale. I mean, there's still like an art to just a typical ponytail. And
so that's one of the hardest things to do, actually.
I know, isn't that funny? Because it seems like that would be one of the simple things to do. Now, I'm here at the Millennium event in Scottsdale, Arizona. So I'm in my hotel room right now doing our spotlight. And yesterday on the stage, I had the privilege to be able to watch Sanvia.
Oh.
And he is masterful at being able to take an enormous amount of hair, a lot of hair, and create it into a specialty look within minutes.
Yes.
And and I think we're all fascinated by that, because it's like, how did he come up with that? How does he know how to do that? It was a braid that he was doing in the front of the head, bringing the hair from the back to the front, and then he flipped it over the head and then created it as on the top of the, I mean, it was like, I don't even know where to begin. And I think a lot of hairdressers just absolutely positively get lost in that process. So who were some of your mentors that you learned from?
Well, in the beginning, it was Alexandre. I mean, he always started everything with a ponytail, and I had to practice to learn how to do that, especially to make it look, and again, add on accessories, my hair or somebody else. So now we have the simplest thing, and let's see, who else could it be? The Chadwicks. The Chadwicks in New York City. They were my mentors. I would fly back and go to the shows and get into a class. And I still do. Here I was working with, when I first was working on the Big Island for Jamie Braugh. The long hair fascinated me because she did it so simply. So watching somebody, people are dazzled, just like you're dazzled right now, by how did he do that? Well, did it just come overnight? No, you have to practice.
Yeah, and just like anything, it's a system. It's a system of being able to create design, right?
So I always say it's like a puzzle. You take it apart and then put it back together. So if you cut hair, you're going to section it off, and then you're going to cut it. Well, with this, you just put it back together again in some way, leaving yourself some insurance in the front, because the front is your money, the money shot, is to leave the bangs out, do something playful, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And don't overthink it. Just then the front can be done softly, and you've got some insurance that that's not going to fall out with the ponytail. So
Yeah.
you have a look, and people are amazed with just doing a side ponytail. I mean, they really are. They can't believe that they could look that way.
Yeah,
So,
and braiding is becoming very popular too, as you know, as a specialty look. And I do remember when I was first in beauty school, I was in a competition, and one of the things that I did, and to this day I still don't know how I did it, but I created an entire hat out of this girl's hair. I mean, it took a really long time, and you had to be so ultra focused. And I don't necessarily consider myself the most detail oriented person, but I had to concentrate so, you know, deeply to be able to keep that whole thing consistent and uniform and clean. But when I got done, I got to tell you, it was probably one of the most empowering moments in my career of actually doing hair, because I just didn't think I'd be able to do that. And it was a lot of fun.
I still cannot do what you just described, because I tend to be that messy hair whisperer. So I really like that also, like I said, kind of sexy look. And that's the detail that I have to focus on when I have to do the super clean, wrap, clean ponytail. So I still practice on those things, because I know sometimes I may need it at a photo shoot, which I have to. They don't want to see any. Another thing at the studio, the hairs, when we came in with high definition, was when I first started working at CBS, and the directors would just one call down from that booth, you are like, you don't want to get that call. So the hair would be flying around and back, waving at the director, and they have to stop the shoot.
Oh, right. Yeah, especially with high definition nowadays,
Money.
everything. And I know that when I had the chance to go down to the studios, the TV studios, when you were working in TV and television, and you gave me a wonderful tour to all the studios, and the way, and this was right at the transition that HD cameras were all being transferred into our everyday world of TV. And you had to almost relearn how to do hair, because one little hair out of place would kind of like throw off the entire look.
Because money, you stop production, it's money. It's all about the money. So no stopping. It has to look perfect all the time. So somebody's 2 people, 2 hair, 2 makeup at each side. So when people say, how do you keep your hair that way all night? Well, you kind of start with something really good to begin with. So it can't be halfway in getting, say, even somebody that's going out with a nice, their style that's coming into play now is this nice side wave that kind of doesn't break up, but it does. And so the set and the prep for that is going to be important, right? And that can't break up because we can't redo the set. So you learn how to do everything, makeup and hair. It was, again, a wonderful learning. Another polishing. It was polishing my skills.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm looking at, right now I'm looking at the people that are joining us. So, hey, everybody, on Hairdresser's Advice. Thanks for joining us. I just want to reiterate that this is my guest, Lois Kinsey. She is the hair whisperer. She shared a story very early on that one of her first celebrity clients just randomly was Salvador Dali when she was in Spain. And she got to do his hair. But in the meantime, what she's been doing, though, is a lot of wedding hair. So I want to kind of transfer into bridal and the bridal business. Now, I know that some salons, you know, here's what I think, and let me know what your thoughts are on this. You kind of can't dabble in being in the wedding business. You either have to be in it, or what it looks like is I've been the hairdresser for this particular person for years, and she wants me to do her hair for her wedding. And maybe other people in the salon are going to take on the bridal party and the mothers, et cetera, et cetera. But the truth is that to be in the bridal business, you have to consider it a entity of business in your salon. And Lois, you've done a great job as a freelance artist being in the wedding business. So first, tell us a little bit about what would you want to share with people about taking on being in the business of brides and weddings?
Well, a few years ago when I started out, we had the most amazing wedding coordinators, which how I learned, I think that I really took the business to another level was having the concierge at the hotel. So if you had a person that was going to be booking you, the bride is counting on the suggestion of the concierge, will say, or the wedding coordinator. So she was my best friend. I made sure that she knew I could do almost anything she wanted because then she checked that off her list. So that was how I just pretended I had that concierge and then I created one that we could do. So now if the wedding business is in it, and then we've morphed into another thing. So it's a little bit harder with the social media. I mean, the wedding coordinator did not call anybody else. I never missed a wedding. I think I was never late for a wedding because I loved doing them so much, but you also had a deposit. So you knew in 6 months you were going to have X amount a day paid for. Mm-hmm. I never had a cancellation.
Yeah. So let's go back now. So the first thing you did was you started connecting with wedding planners and wedding coordinators and concierges in hotels where weddings are a big deal within those resort environments.
Yes, everything.
Yeah. And that kind of, got you to be able to make those connections so that they could refer you to their brides as part of their directory in a sense.
And the most important thing with that was not so much that the style was going to be amazing or my hair skills. It was that I was reliable.
Yeah.
Reliable.
Well, yeah, reliable is good. Now, if they were coming in for, resort hair, they were going to be staying in the resort or getting married in the resort, at what point did you do a preview?
There was no preview. So you had a blind, you might have one conversation over the phone. They didn't come to fly to Hawaii for the preview. So you had to really make sure that you were going to have that conversation and it became a consultation over the phone.
Yeah. And I'm typing into Facebook Live here and I'm asking everybody, what advice do you have for other HA members on wedding and bridal hair? I see a lot of posts on this particular site that people are saying, how much do you charge for a preview? How do you, people are asking, what the contracts look like for being able to do bridal parties. How much do you expect down in advance? So let's kind of answer some of those questions because I know that you're a freelance person. It's not necessarily your salon and everybody coming into your salon,
right? But
do you still have an agreement that you have all of your brides and or bridal parties sign off on?
That she is responsible for most everybody in that party.
Okay, so the bride itself is signing an agreement with you that you're going to be doing the hair,
and paying for half of that.
Okay, and a 50% deposit down on that. Then what are some of the questions that you ask this bride if there really isn't going to be a ultimate and for sure preview that you're going to be doing a practice run on her?
Well, most of that at the hotel level, they would require the deposit. So they did a lot of that business. Here, now we have a different story. So if it's an out-of-state bride and they're going to maybe meet with me briefly, sometimes it's just a meet and greet and I give them a little financial deposit, a break on the trial if we know for sure that it's a good fit and they just so again it's a high-end bride that does that. It's not usually some kind of middle of the road and with the downturn a lot of that real high-end bridal work went away because people were not doing the huge big weddings. And again, they were depending on the coordinator.
But they are now.
Now they're coming back.
Big weddings are back.
They're back. But it's a different kind of thing because the girls are now thinking that they can do some of the hair because of Pinterest and because of all the different sites that are social media. One of the girls does makeup, so they can't confirm. It's a little different now, Bonnie, because they don't want to say yes to as many of the girls and pay for everything. So
well, let's just stay focused on the bride then. Okay, so forget the bridal party if that's
okay.
What is the type of questions that you ask that bride in order to like secure that relationship at that point in time, because you've never done her hair before?
No, exactly. So she's going to be going on reviews. She's going to ask, I'm going to ask her what is it she's looking for, and did she see some of my work? And
what about her sending you pictures of what she's?
And then she said, first thing I want to see is the dress. I want to see her dress. And we build a relationship on with pictures on my phone.
Okay.
Yeah. And then immediately, I might even just recently what happened, the bride and groom were coming. It was a second wedding. A lot of second weddings are happening, and that is just an amazing second part of my business, because they are a little bit more confident. They know exactly what they want. All I did was go inside the Surf and Sand, say hello, meet her fiance, and they gave me a check for half the wedding. Looked at her hair. That was it. Looked at the dress. And she wanted to make sure I was going to be happy doing what I needed to do, so she didn't have to worry about anything else.
Yeah. And what are some of the trends that are happening right now with weddings that you're doing with brides? I mean, to me, it seems more loose and fun and airy.
Floral. I was just, I asked the wedding coordinator here at 7 Degrees, where I am, asked her a couple of questions. She said, this is a very interesting thing. It's a monogrammed. Everybody is having their own brand, speaking to the branding expert here. So it was so interesting, and a little floral. The flowers and the hair and the whole thing is monogrammed. Everything is like, they have their own style. They're not following anybody else. They want to be different. And they serve different foods. They don't just do steak and lobster. They want to have like risotto and little food bars and something that's unique. So nobody has their look. Interesting.
Yeah. So the dress is a big predictor of how they want the hair.
The venue is more the first important thing. The venue,
yes, of course. But I mean, when we're talking about the bride and the hair at this point, the dress is relevant because the style has to then make sure that it's a fit to the dress itself.
It's like the dress can't go down the runway, and the bridal thing, the hair can't go down. It all has to flow together. Yeah. Every single thing has to look like it just is this beautiful, it's a celebration.
So what's some rules of thumb right now with whether hair should be up or down? What type of necklines does that work best with? Does it matter? Is there anything goes, or is there really still some very specific style rules in order to make the dress and the hair fit?
I think the most important thing that people really do need to understand is that a lot of hair designers may not have those answers to how it looks with the dress. It's the dress it is everything.
Yeah. But if you had somebody that had a really fitted dress, or somebody that had a princess dress, I mean, you're going to design the hair in order to balance the dress.
Absolutely. And this little wedding coordinator had just said, most of the only trouble that the brides do run into is if they haven't had a consultation with the person that they are going to be seeing that day. Yeah. They just kind of hired them online, and they didn't have this conversation that we're talking about, or a look at the dress. The person said, I can do anything, so trust me, and they sent the money to them, and then they're disappointed because it doesn't look like they thought it was going to. But they also didn't do their due diligence as a bride to look further and to do the either a consultation or a trial, so that they could see and feel how it was really going to go.
Yeah. Well, and the trial is pretty critical. And I noticed that a lot of people are saying, how much do you charge for a trial? But let's talk a little bit about pricing. And I understand that this is you and it's personally you, but maybe based on what you know, having been in the wedding industry for many years, what is a typical charge for a bride's hair for her wedding?
I charge $200, and that is for, and it might vary if we're not going to do something super elaborate. That may go within $50, but it's usually $150 to $200, and it might be $250 and up if they're having excessive extensions, accessories in the hair. Sometimes with some of these really elaborate Indian celebrations, they could go as much because of the time. It's mostly the time and the effort or the experience of knowing what I have to do. Sometimes they'll let me go pick out everything, buy the accessories, and they pay for all of the extra hair. So it is a real personal, it's a very personal thing, but starts, I would say, 200.
Okay, so at that 200, does that include a trial, or is a trial still separate?
The trial is still separate.
Okay, and what would be a fair price for a trial, would you say?
Usually, this is what I do because of the business model, is I will say if they book on that day, that I will give them 50% off.
Of the trial cost?
Of the trial.
So then a portion of that goes to toward the wedding fee.
Yes, exactly.
The wedding hair fee. Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. That's typically how everybody does it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So Lois, you must have a story, good, bad, or indifferent, of a bride. You don't have to use any names if it's a juicy one, but tell us a story about a particular bride and, how that all went.
How that all went. Well, good, bad, or indifferent?
Yeah, good, bad, or indifferent.
Let's take the bride that decided she was going to change how she was going to do her hair from excessively straight to very curly. And that same bride left her dress up in the room hanging on the fire hook.
Oh no! She really the water the sprinkler system.
Sprinkler. Yep. And the dress could not have been the most beautiful dress I've ever seen in my life, with everything. The hotel was filled with flowers in every corner, and her dress was full of muddy water. And the hair was a disaster. It was because she was running back and forth, and then said, finally, just put some pins in it. Where's my dress? I mean, it was one of the worst. I mean, how could anybody in a dress in a train? And the poor people cleaning the dress. The wedding was postponed for 3 hours to get the dress back in the ring. The other one was always pin the veil. That's my rule. Everybody's going to pin the veil. No, I don't want to pin in my hair. We're going to pin the veil. Would you like to see it flying across the fields with some strange wind? Because I was on the balcony looking at the bride, Chinese bride, that did not pin her veil, and all of a sudden that wind came along, and it went directly in the dolphin pond at the Grand Wailea. So there's just a few.
Yeah. Oh, those are good. All right. So always pin the veil.
Pin the veil.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna while you continue talking about some stories and other things that you think are important for our listeners to know about being in the business of brides and wedding hair, I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to show them some of your work that is on the Beauty Agent Network. So you keep talking.
Okay. So
I am going to.
Is there anything specific?
No, just share other points of interest in regards to people being in the business of wedding hair, because it is a business and you have to treat it as a business. It's not, hey, I'm getting a haircut in a color, and it's my 6-week appointment. This business means that you really have to have people sign off on agreements and understand what the guidelines are. So give us more of that logistical side of what you do to prepare to have the best experience for yourself and them.
Well, we have a mother to deal with usually.
Mm-hmm.
The mother is my ace in the hole, that for better or worse. But I love the mothers or the grandmothers, but usually the mother is paying for the event, and so she's going to become my very best friend.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to do her hair like she's never had it done before. Usually it's not an updo. It's going to be a finished work. She has a perfect hairdresser that she goes to all the time. And I think that is like honing your blow dry skill to the point where you can absolutely nail that style on the mother. Her mother has never felt so pretty. She loves the conversation. She loves having her hair done by me, or if I have an assistant that's with me, that they absolutely make that mother look wonderful. So, and the bride is going to be thrilled that her mother feels so good.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is an urgent thing that a lot of people do not ever, they just don't take care of the whole, or her best friend. Maybe she has a best friend, maybe the maid of honor that has to, it's going to be making some decisions for that bride.
Right.
So I really, again, the hair whisperer name comes in there because I don't ever have a plan in mind until I meet the people.
Yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense, though, to be able to do that, because you really have to get to know them. Okay, so here's Lois's profile on the Beauty Agent Network. And for those of you that are educators and are interested in having yourself on the Beauty Agent Network, we have it as an annual membership. It's very reasonable, $297 a year for a Connect Me membership and $597 for a Showcase Me membership. Both of these obviously give you this opportunity to be able to be on the spotlight and to be able to share your great information here. So I love this picture here, Lois, because
this is a beautiful, it's one of my favorites. Now her hair was in an up style, quite loosely pinned in, and I was actually running right behind this girl on the beach in front of the Ritz-Carlton. And I just ran up and I pulled out the pins and she took off running, and there you go. That was so beautiful.
Yeah, it's I can't blow it up any bigger at this point,
and
but
this
you can
girl here is actually sitting in this exact office that you're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
The girl on the right got baby fine hair with 2 pins in it. The girl on the left, these are both top models now. I'm doing amazing. This was Julia on the left. That was also just set on about six twirls, and over to the side, which we're seeing. Again, this is a timeless bob, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's classic.
It's classic.
It's classic waves, and it's stunning.
So there again, you're going to say, I want the pictures. This is another topic. I want the pictures of this girl is going to be looking at these pictures, and her family's going to be looking at them for 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
This girl here is Julia. That was the set for the other style up above. This is a set.
Oh, is this the same gal?
That's the same girl.
Oh, well, that's really pretty. Yeah. And of course,
this is just ribbons sewn into the hair, which everybody loves. And we just popped out the set a little bit, then we combed it out. So again, setting yourself up for success. If she wants to change it, yeah.
So Lois, as we kind of wrap up our show today, and thank you for being, so wonderful on the show here. Tell us a little bit about the type of education that you offer to hairstylists, salon owners, and then what you're bringing to shows as well, so that people can know that they can book you to come out and do some great education.
Absolutely.
And you keep talking, and I'll be right back.
My doll heads travel with me wherever they go. I ended up doing a wonderful class for makeup artists. Actually, a skincare makeup studio hired me to come to San Francisco because of the finish looks that they needed for their makeup. So it's not just a makeup bar, but they're fully licensed. And sent the doll heads ahead, and we spent all day. So jumping in, I think people just have to have a desire to do a little bit something different, whether it's the simplest little bun in the back of their head.
Mm-hmm.
But learning how to do that, it has to be hands-on. I don't think you can ask questions and find the answers. You have to practice doing long hair. It's like doing the braiding that you were talking about on that. Just even to braid their children's hair or to braid something else, but just to get their hands into the hair to learn how that they can do things that they didn't think they could do.
Yeah. So long-haired model mannequins is part of the practice here.
It's part of it, and they all bought the mannequins. They're for sale when I bring them in. So,
do the mannequins, is that a part of your fee?
Sometimes it is.
Okay, so depending on if the salon has already mannequins in their, inventory or something like that, so you can negotiate all those things with the salons.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so a hands-on program to be able to learn some of the foundations, plus you're going to share with them two or three different looks that they can create tons of variations on, but how to be able to structure from A to Z
right.
that particular look, and then have their own creative element to it.
And they come up with something to show me what they would think about. And there's no wrong way to do it. We just have to have a little bit of foundation, and they're going to have fun. It's really, I make it a lot of fun. People thought they never think that they can really learn something like that. And we have a really good time doing it. So
I love that, because I really think that this is, whether let's say you're a salon owner and you're watching right now and you want to train your team, there are going to be some team members that maybe this isn't for them, but for them to learn the foundation of setting hair to be able to be in a particular style, you can't go wrong with that type of training no matter what, whether they want to be in the wedding and bridal business or not. I know that many of these salons that have really nurtured and created a niche for themselves of being in the bridal business, especially with brides and weddings being so popular today. I know that there was a time during the recession that everybody was scaling down, but we're scaling back up right now, and weddings are a big deal. And they're an amazing profit center for salons if they're willing to commit to that business, that part of the business in beauty.
Well, let's just take a look at our books. Mm-hmm. My books, I know that 4 Saturdays in the next 6 months are completely booked. I don't know too many people that can say
and
that.
And you do on-site weddings, so they're not necessarily coming to you. You go to them.
I go to them.
Yeah.
And they're not going to cancel. They're not going to say, "Oh, I don't want to get my hair colored today." They're going to get married that day.
Yeah.
So
true.
It's a security. It's a little bit more security than saying, "Oh, I decided to go out of town with in my area, people just go away on Saturdays. I don't know what happened to my business on Saturdays." So I'm really grateful for the events and especially the weddings.
And the wedding business, to be able to secure you. So so that you've got all these weddings booked in advance, you've got contracts signed with these clients, you've got deposits in. Right. This is who you are, and this is part of the business that you've created and developed as the hair whisperer. Mm-hmm. And your reputation, of course, precedes you. So for everybody watching, I want you to really think about checking Lois out, booking Lois. She's magical with hair, and I'm mesmerized when I watch her, like Martin Parsons, like Sam Villa. She really does have a way with hair, and she has, and it just represents beauty from the inside out for sure, because she really gets to know that particular client and that particular bride and brings out the very best of what they have, and have them look so special on their special day. So Lois, thank you so much.
Thank you. I love you, Bonnie.
Yeah, I love you too. So hey, you guys, I have a instead of doing a spotlight next week, I actually have a webinar that I'm doing next week, and I wanted to just introduce you to that. It's a free webinar, and it's called, Building Your Personal Brand Feng Shui Style.
Oh.
I just moved into a house, and I've been kind of feng shuiing my house, and I did my office in a feng shui style, and I got to tell you, and I'll share this, of course, at the webinar, but I shifted my office around to be able to make sure that it was meeting some feng shui approaches, and my business started rocking. And I do believe that it was based on that energy flow that I created. I recently had a photo shoot this past week, and I wish Lois was there to do my hair, but I did have a fabulous hairdresser from Main Attraction do my hair and makeup. But I actually worked with a stylist, a clothing stylist, that did a feng shui approach on me, and being able to make sure that all my lines, my energy, and my flow was going to be consistent with my images. And I've kind of been bombarded by a lot of feng shui lately, so I thought, you know what, there's something about this. So the webinar is going to be next Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, and it's called Building Your Brand Feng Shui Style. And we're going to talk about the 5 keys of Feng Shui and how that is going to be develop your brand. Like Lois is the hair whisperer. What's your brand? What makes you unique? How are you standing out from others in this industry and in this business? So it's going to be a fun webinar. Again, it's free. Here's the, and I'm going to put it in the, I'll put it in the comments as well. It's if you go to brandme.club. Brandme.club, that is how you sign up for the free webinar. Now it's Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern, but there's also options for other nights during the week if that Monday doesn't work out for you. So just make that selection of the day that's going to be best for you. And I love it. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm putting it together this week, and I've been having a lot of fun doing it because it's just something a little different. But I realized the power of how we're represented and how we create that energy and how we create that disconnective energy that doesn't get us that business or those clients that we're looking for. So we're going to talk all about that. So it's www.brandme.club.
I'll be there.
Okay, good. I'm glad. And listen, like Lois, she's been on the Beauty Agent Network because she's an educator and she's in the business of education. Her specialty is, of course, wedding hair and brides, but she's been on the Beauty Agent Network. So if you're an educator or you're looking to be an educator, then I'm going to recommend that you touch base with me and or go on to beautyagentnetwork.com and find out more about how you can be like Lois and have a very unique personal brand and build a strong business in our industry. Lois, thank you again for being such a great guest. I love hearing all of your stories. And I love watching you do hair. You got to see this woman do hair. She's amazing. And I'll see everybody then next week for the webinar.
Thank you, everybody, for jumping on. Love you.
Bye.
Bye.